Hello, and welcome to a Bergkamp Wonderland and Arsenal podcast. My name is Karl, at that London guy on Twitter, and we are here to talk about all things Arsenal. If this podcast goes by how the debate goes on who was going to open it up, it's going to be a very, very, very mad show. Not joining me, but talking all things Arsenal today is Femi. Femi, we are on together
Yeah.
again. It seems like Danny just grouped us together as normal.
Yeah, I think it's because Danny spends most of his time saying, "Who's coming on? Who's coming on? Who's doing it?"
Oh, he's like a moany woman, isn't he? But I mean, it's weird, and I'm not going to spoil the surprise. But although Arsenal lost badly and heavily, the pirate is not on. Like, I'm shocked because he only really comes on when Arsenal lose. Like an emergency podcast, we've got to do it when Arsenal lose
Everyone's still talking about that one.
because it's true. The thing is, here, if Arsenal was to go to, I don't know, to Spurs and win 4-0, batter them at home, and Chris was at home, there was no French football on because they're all busy fighting each other in the crowd and throwing things onto the football pitch. Stupid league that is. He still wouldn't come on. But if Arsenal got battered by Spurs 4-0, he would be the first person on. I'm on. We do love him. Uh, Danny is also here. And people, if you're watching this on YouTube, you're going to look at him and think, why, oh, why is he wearing a scarf? And the thing is, if you see the scarf, it looks like something that not your mother, your grandmother would wear. So was that bought from a shop, Danny, or did someone make that for you?
This stuff was about 15 quid what is wool wrapped up in? A bundle? A bowl? A bowl? Whatever it is. It's 15 quid a thing, and it took about 5 of them to make it. And I've also got a lap blanket that took 6 of them to make it. Sean's mum made it for me.
It is very nice. It brings out the colour in your eyes, Danny, so much.
It does. Do you want me to share with you why Chris isn't on here? You should have read it in the podcast WhatsApp group. Podcast Wednesday, 7:30-8 o'clock. Who is free, in brackets, not Chris, as we are wise to his agenda of only turning up when we lose.
It's also funny, but I think
So
he's
true.
going to be. I know, but I think he's going to be watching his side get this bum smacked by Manchester City. So we shall see.
Yes.
Should we talk about Arsenal? I know we don't really want to, but I guess we have to talk about Arsenal getting their bum smacked by Liverpool, which was, I guess, not unexpected. I'll start with you, Femi. I guess when we was going to play Liverpool away, no one really expected to win, but I don't think anyone expected a 4-0 drumming, or at least I didn't. Of course, I don't think we go through piece by piece of the game, but because we spoke about it in the podcast before. But I guess the question I'm going to ask you is: are you upset by the result or the performance? What kind of upsets you more?
Being on mute.
You're on mute, Femi.
Amateur hour here. What's going on?
It's all that Chris talk. You have to mute yourself, Will. You're laughing.
Yeah. Well, you really weren't expecting to lose 4-0. I just go into Liverpool away. I start at 3, and then anything that's below 3 is a positive at the moment. So I kind of, when it went to 2-0, I was like, yeah. And I think, to be honest, yeah. No, I'm to say. Do you know what I'm more disappointed in? Not in the goals that we conceded. I'm more disappointed in our attacking play in these games, basically, or non-existent attacking play. 2, 3, 4 touches in the box sometimes, hardly ever getting even near the penalty area. I think that's what is more disheartening for me. I don't know about you, but I think that let's say you score 2 and lose 4-2 in a big game. That's kind of more acceptable than continuously losing. Even if you're losing 2-0 and you hardly ever get in the box. I think that's quite disheartening, to be honest with you, because if let's say, for example, the Watford game that we played, we consider Watford, a team that we should be beating. and they hardly created a chance against us, and we won 1-0, and everyone walked out of the ground, everyone walked out of that game thinking, oh yeah, we played really well, it should have been more than 1-0, but that Watford caused us no problems, and that's kind of what we are now to the big three in the league. We just get swatted aside, no problem. I'm sure their fans just don't even stress out when Arsenal play them, because we don't put any pressure on them at all. All, not even a little bit of pressure. So you're literally just waiting for them to score, and then if you can score, I mean, we don't really score against them. That's it, really. That's why I expected it, to be honest.
I mean, Danny, we won't go into too much detail with the starting lineup, but was you expecting anything different from what we saw that play? Because I genuinely thought that Odegaard would come in for Lacazette, just because I felt that the midfield battle was really key. And we lost the midfield battle straight away, and we'll talk about Partey later. But I thought that Odegaard coming in would just show up the midfield just a little bit more, just because apart from holding up the ball and maybe chasing people down, what else does Lacazette offer? Because he's not playing high enough up the pitch to be a goal scoring threat. He's literally there to hold up the ball to bring people into play. But I thought that Odegaard coming in would just make that midfield battle maybe a little bit more even. What did you think?
Well, you need players that are accomplished in their own positions when you're playing teams like Liverpool. You can't get a striker and play him as a 10-8-4 and then expect him to be magnificent there. Although I'm looking at the stats, Laka did actually get 3 decent tackles in, whereas between Saka and Tomiyasu, they got none, which was shocking. Both of our wings, both of our fullbacks and the player ahead of them, Smith Rowe and Saka, they were all goddamn awful. That is the worst performance that we have seen from all 4 at the same time, because those lots should be used to overlapping each other. And then the Terence Trent Derby and the unpronounceable on the other side, they just ran right down those wings because they were just so bad. They could do absolutely nothing. Dispossession-wise, on the right-hand side, Saka was dispossessed twice. Tomi was dispossessed 3 times. I mean, that is terrible. And then you look at the number of tackles that went in. Tommy has had not a single tackle on that as a right back, whereas Gabriel had 5, Tavares had 4, and even Lacazette had 3. And you're thinking everything is just an absolutely awful game. And then Lokonga, my God, I'm surprised he didn't get taken off even sooner than he did, because that second half of his, luckily Arteta realised that after, 10 minutes, that this bloke is falling apart in midfield. And every single thing he did was just rubbish, giving the ball away, passing back in the wrong position, not connecting with passes from his teammate. And Arteta went, "You're off," and brought on Maitland-Niles, and that settled us down. But that was too late, Karl. How about you? What did you think about the positional situation of some of the players? Because I think you are right. Odegaard, that's his position, and he'd have been spraying balls all over the place. And he's got a good engine on him.
I mean, I'm not saying that he would have made the difference. I'm not going to say that, playing Odegaard would have stopped us losing 4-0. But I felt like if you matched our midfield to their midfield, I don't think that Lacazette was the right person. I genuinely don't. And I felt like if we did need a goal, we needed more firepower. It would be good to bring on Lacazette, because we all know that Lacazette can't last more than 60 minutes. He's blowing out of his arse after 60 minutes. So we knew at some point he was going to have to come off. I would have preferred to him to come on the bench to try and make a little bit of difference. But you're right, Lokonga, I'm going to say that he's a young... As Arsenal fans, we're going to try and make excuses for these players, aren't we? Because there are players, but he was shocking in that game, like literally really bad. And Arteta, for once, saw how bad he was and took him off. And I hope it doesn't dent his confidence, and I hope it doesn't dent all their confidence, because Liverpool are, we'll say, top 2 teams in the world at the moment. They have maybe the top 3. So losing to Liverpool, there's no shame in it. I think that I don't know what happened to our players. I don't know if our players literally shit the bed and just thought, "Oh my God, we're playing Liverpool. I don't know what else to do."
That's it, because we kept the crowd quiet, didn't we? Until all the way through most of the first half. First half, we were really good. We could see they were getting past us and causing trouble. But then after they scored that first goal, that's the first time you got any sound out of that Anfield crowd. And I think once that got going, it put the willies up them.
But then
Yeah,
a performance like that, I mean, because I look back at the Brighton game, for example, and everyone said, "Oh, it was because of the rain and all that stuff that we were hearing that day." But if you look at that performance, and let's be honest, the Leicester second half performance as well, where Brighton just created chance after chance, but they just couldn't shoot or hit the target or anything like that. And Leicester, I mean, let's be honest, if it wasn't for Ramsdale, we probably would have lost that game. So it's like we do have this in us, but then obviously if you play a quality side, they're gonna finish those chances, to be honest.
He made 5 saves, Karl. Amazing.
I mean,
It was
yeah.
he's just
If
a
it was,
revelation.
if it wasn't for him, we would have lost that game even more. Like, I think
8, 9.
if Leno was in that game, we definitely would have conceded much more than 4, unfortunately. And even the goals that we conceded, I wouldn't say none of them were Leno's. Sorry, hear me. None of them were Ramsdale's fault. None of them. Like, you don't look at Ramsdale and think, "Oh, you should have saved that," or "You should have done." I mean, maybe the first one, maybe the Mane one is probably the only one that you look at and say, "Yeah, you kind of maybe should have saved that because it headed it down." But anything else was, he kept us kind of in the game for a little bit, and then obviously the team just capitulated, and you were hoping that that sort of mentality has gone out of the team, but sadly it's not. But Femi, do you put it down to maybe inexperience? And again, I don't know if I'm looking for excuses, but you're looking at Smith Rowe, you're looking at Saka, you're looking at all these people, Lokonga, you're looking at Tavares. Like, these are all very young players with not much experience. Are you putting it down to maybe their age or something else?
I think you can speak about 2 inexperiences. So if you think about inexperience on the pitch, you're right. We are very heavily reliant on young players, especially in sort of, apart from the 2 forwards and Partey, basically, it's just a very young team. Someone like Ramsdale, even young though, has played a lot of games, a lot of football. Someone like Tomiyasu, he's played quite a bit of football, but I think the inexperience that I'm looking at is on the bench as well. Because, for example, the playing out from the back, I don't understand when we decide, when we do it and when we don't, how we plan it. I don't know, because some days it's like we go long when, and then a day like this where we continuously play out from the back, even though Liverpool are basically saying, you know what, this is like we were the perfect opponent for them, because that's exactly what they love. They love to pounce on the ball anywhere 35 yards from goal and put you under pressure. So imagine you took Ox, for example, and you put him into our setup. Would he have made a difference? I don't think so. But in their setup, he looked like a world-class midfielder again, and it's like, it's that type of thing where their experience that they've built around him. And obviously, I always see in the group people say, this team has been together for this long. They've been together for, good 4 or 5 years now, this Liverpool team. They just add little bits and pieces to it. So I do get it, but at the end of the day, they've got a spine of absolute top quality experience of keeper, the Van Dijk, the Fabinho, the Thiago even. And then the forwards, so it makes it easier for other players to slot in around them. Whereas we're just basically playing the same group of players week in, week out. If we make any changes, it seems to just unbalance the whole team. So, and then, like I was saying, inexperience on the bench, it is what it is. I mean, we're kind of on the bench, we're learning on the job still, to be honest.
I mean, yeah, it's. Do you think it's kind of a little bit of inexperience from Arteta as well, knowing that, like you said, Liverpool? If Liverpool could have picked an opponent, they would have picked us. They would have definitely chosen us, and the way that we played as well, almost, because the way they hunt in packs, it was brilliant for them, because we would pass it out to maybe Tomiyasu. Tomiyasu would try and square it to the times of Lokonga, and Lokonga would lose it, and then Mane would pounce, and then Salah would pounce, and it was just like Jota would be on there as well, and just be like, there's so many times watching the game where it would show a Liverpool chance, a shot, and then by the time they showed the replay and go back to the live game, Liverpool were attacking again. So it just goes to show you that how quickly we lost the ball, and how often as well. I mean, Danny, is that a little bit of inexperience from Arteta as well, or do you think that the players need to take onus on the pitch? Because if you're being trained and at the training ground and Arteta's saying to you, "No, we're going to play out from the back. We're going to play out from the back. This is what we do. This is the Arsenal way." Do you think it's a little bit of inexperience where the players should just say, "Look, it's happened 3 or 4 times. We're getting hunted down. We're now going to go long"?
I think it is partly down to Arteta, but he was not as if he wasn't along the sideline shouting at every player. He was going mental through most of the game like he always does. But I think you've got to look at the fact we're playing the best team in the world, arguably, at one of the hardest grounds in the world to get a result, apart from that run where they lost 6 or 7 games in a row in all competitions, home and away. And then you're looking at the fact that you are building a partnership. We always know that a fullback and the winger need to build a partnership. Now, Tomiyasu and Saka have probably played together 5 times, and Tavares and Smith Rowe probably the same number 4 or 5 times. And also, I think there's a little bit of a hangover from Ramsdale, Saka, and ESR all playing for England. My God, who'd thought we'd ever hear those words again? 3 Arsenal players tired from playing for England. But you brought up a really good point, Karl. I'm sad enough to go and watch the first half. Brilliant, well done. I'd applaud Arsenal up until about the 39th minute. And even after that, we were pretty good. We held our own, but you can't stop the entire dam full of water coming down and crushing you. And then the second half, from the kickoff, Karl, this is going to take me a couple of minutes to explain this. 45th minute, Tommy throw in, Alba kicked it in the air, we lost possession. This is how many times we lost possession in the first 10 minutes of the second half. 45th minute, Tommy throw in, bounced off a Saka, lost possession. 46th minute, Tommy throw in to Saka, who gives it back to Tommy, who then gives it back to Saka in an offside position. We lose possession. 47, Saka back pass to White, who lobs it downfield to no one, lost possession. 47, Partey back pass to Gabriel, who clears it downfield to no one and out for a throw-in, lost possession. 48th minute, playing out from the back, Ramsdale to Lokonga, who passes it straight to a Liverpool player. Out of lost to possession again. 48th minute, Tavares throw in to Lokonga, who kicks it back to him, and it goes wide of Tavares and out for a throw-in. Something as simple as that. 49th minute, Alba in the middle of the park, Partey, pass to Partey, who side passes it to Lokonga, who gives it to a Liverpool player. 49th minute again, Lokonga running back to goal under pressure, does a stupid pass to Gabriel, who barely managed to stretch along I don't know what that line is that runs along where the back of the goal is. I couldn't find what that line is. I was going to say touch line, but that's something Jace used to say. Anyway, so Gabriel's there, and he stretches to almost get it, to stop it going out for a corner, and then Liverpool get the ball. 50th minute, goal kick straight downfield to a Liverpool player. 50th minute, Lacazette running down the right towards goal, tries a threaded through ball to Lacazette, hits him on the heel and bounces away. Alba was offside anyway, only 3 more to go. 51st minute, Tavares from the left back gets the ball, starts to run upfield and tries a towards goal pass to Partey that gets intercepted by Jota, and Jota runs down and scores. 52nd minute, Lokonga off. 53rd minute, Ramsdale gets a back pass, hurriedly gets it, turns and launches it upfield. It goes out for a throw-in. 53rd minute, Ramsdale rolls the ball out to the left to Tavares, who passes it to Aubameyang, who rolls it back towards goal, and AMN kicks it upfield and out for a throw-in. And the final one, 54th minute, Gabriel to White, to AMN, across to Tommy, who badly miscontrols the ball and loses it to a Liverpool player. So in the first 10 minutes, we lost the ball 15 times and 2 or 3 more times from being fouled. That's in the first 10 minutes of the second half. That is comical.
That's shocking. That's absolutely shocking how many times we lost the ball. But
as I'm writing that, I'm thinking, well, this has just happened, and he's done it again. And he's done it again. In the first 5 minutes or the first 2 minutes of the second half, how many times we had a throw-in on the right-hand side and Tomiyasu and whoever he threw it to mucked it up? 3 or 4 times, one after the other. It's like Bellerin when he was taking all of his throw-ins. Couldn't get it right. But that's the thing you learn, isn't it? Because you've got Tavares on the left back who speaks Portuguese, with Smith Rowe, who I doubt speaks anything other than English. And then on the right-hand side, you've got Tomiyasu, who speaks Japanese, maybe a bit of Italian, and maybe a teeny bit of English, and Saka only speaks English. So this is a relationship these players have got to build up, and Liverpool pressurised us, like you were saying, Karl, so much pressure on us, and every time they did, they got the ball, or we lost control of the ball.
Well, you know what? By the way, listeners, I think you should just give Danny a round of applause wherever you are for that. That was wonderful. You know what? It reminds me of the Crystal Palace game a little bit. If you think back to that game where we just could not keep the ball. Remember, I think we scored quite early in that game, like the 9th minute or something like that. And I think I was listening to a pod, I can't remember what it was. They were saying, I think a passing combination of more than 3 to 5 passes, I can't remember what it was, in the rest of that Palace game, I think we didn't have that many of them between the time that we scored and Palace went 2-1 up, until we then realized, oh, we might lose this game. Then we started actually going for it. We hardly strung any succession of passes together, and it's so weird that we just can't pass as a team. I don't know if it's and another thing I hate is the fact that the players always seem so far from each other as well. Like they always seem like they're just not so they can't. There's no one to pass to sometimes. So all they do is end up turning around and spinning around and going backwards, which is how Tavares kind of lost the ball for that goal. But you'll notice that.
Like they're running away, like when you're being attacked by a wasp. When you try and give them the ball, they go, "Oh, what's this? What's going on?"
And I think if you've watched the Man United Man City game, I was watching Man City. I'm not saying we're to that level, but one of the things that I said in one of the groups I was in, I said, look at Man City, the way there's always a player available for a pass. So they kind of the ball kind of does the work for you rather than the people. So what we do is we just have the people doing the work. So we have players that are they run so much that they're exhausted by the time they get up the pitch. So they literally create nothing. So you got players just running, like Aubameyang just runs around for 90 minutes, especially in big games. All you see him is just running around. Nothing else, just running around. He hardly ever touches the ball. He just so it's just so funny.
Do you think it's a case of hiding in plain sight? I mean, I can remember, Danny, like me and you, and like the old school guy, talking about how Walcott used to do that. He used to hide, like he used to be on the pitch, but he used to hide, always be in a bad position so he didn't receive a pass. And maybe some of our players are doing that now. I mean, they are young and inexperienced, and I'm not going to say all of them, because you've got people like Lacazette, you've got people like Aubameyang, you've got people like Partey, who are experienced players, and you're looking for those players to help out the young ones. But one of the things we're going to talk about is Partey, and I guess we can kind of maybe shift the conversation just a tiny little bit. I don't know what Partey's role is in the team. I can't tell you. Like, I can't. Yes, he plays in centre midfield, but what is his role in centre midfield? Is he a defensive midfielder? Is he a deep line playmaker? Is he an attacking midfielder? Is he an advanced playmaker? What does he do? Because if you even look at the Liverpool game, he did nothing in that game. He hid, for me, most of that game. I think the second or third goal, him being not tracking players, letting people run past him, that was kind of his fault. And I can't think of a game, apart from maybe the Manchester United game at Old Trafford, where he has made a difference. Now, I feel that when we bought him, we didn't buy a young player. We bought a ready-made player who could come straight into the team and make a difference. He's 20. We bought him at 27, didn't we? He's 28 now, I believe. So I believe that we bought a player that we just didn't need no work, because he was an established player. That's what he did. And I can't tell what else he did. So for me, I have to ask the question: what is Partey? What is he in our team?
Regretting moving to Arsenal, I think, is what he is. I think if you asked him honestly, he probably didn't realise what he was getting into, because he's played at a higher level than Partey has. He's probably seen more for club and country than Partey has. I mean, than Arteta has. He's won more stuff. He's a better player. And he's got someone who roughly plays in the same kind of position as Arteta did for Arsenal, telling him what to do. And sometimes you just think he's got the look of someone who's been told to do something that he's not really sure of what he's doing, with Arteta on the sideline constantly shouting at everybody, get back here, do that, run here, do that. Well, hold on, son. You're not exactly Zidane. Why are you telling me what to do when you can't do it? You didn't do it yourself. Now you can't do it yourself. I mean, that must frustrate people like Partey.
And on that, Danny, I think also, did he sign up for this? Because basically, between him signing and now, the project has changed full circle, basically, hasn't it? You know, we had last year Willian coming in and, you know, Arteta saying in 2 years' time we'll be in the Champions League final. Remember that? So, you know, I'm sure he sold something like that to Partey as well. To this year, us going full circle and just bombing our team with young players and saying, "Oh, we're starting a new project." Now, imagine him now thinking, "Hold on a minute, that's not what you told me when I signed up, is it?" So I'm not saying, you know, this has anything to do with style of play. I'm just thinking of mentality, because you know, he looks like quite a strong player, but I wonder how something like that affects a player where he's, you know, coming to the twilight of his career and he's basically been sold a dream, and he's so basically he can play through the motions because he's got it's not a nice thing to say. I'm sure he's not thinking that, but he can play through the motions, to be honest with you. He's got a nice 300k, 250k contract, probably more money than he's earned in his whole career. And when you look at his play, it's like, to be fair, he actually only plays well when he's playing next to Granit Xhaka.
I was going to say,
that's the only time he plays well.
Xhaka comes back. Well, when Xhaka comes back, Partey won't be here, will he?
Yeah, but when Partey,
he'll go to
the
African Cup of Nations.
Well, you always think Partey makes a difference to the team, but like Karl said, does he actually make that much of a difference when he's there or not there?
I think that's a good point you made about he's been sold a lemon. That is, happy Thanksgiving Day to all the Americans. I meant to say that. I did write it down and forgot. And the Canadian one isn't until October the 10th next year, Jeff, if you're listening. But I think when he come, that's a good point, that he had Louise, he had Willian, he had Xhaka and Aubameyang and Laka, all his age group. And now he's playing with a load of kids. Not only they're young, but some of them have never played in the Premier League before. They're learning their trade and learning to gel on the job. And sometimes he's got to be sitting there thinking, Lokonga, what the hell are you doing? Why? And then we could see how bad he was doing, because Arteta took him off, didn't he, after 52 minutes, which is good to see that Arteta has got the sense, Karl, to pull someone off and he's having a bloody mare rather than leaving him on. But then it comes to looking at things like, well, why comes Pepe didn't come on, or Martinelli come on? Because you could see the Lacazette Pepe Aubameyang thing was not working at all, was it?
No, it was. Even Tavares, I think there were so many bad players that game. I don't think he knew who to take off, but he had to take off Lokonga. Lokonga was just really bad that game, and I don't know what. I mean, you don't know what happens in people's private lives. Something may have happened before the game. We don't know, and I guess we'll never know. Or he genuinely just had a very bad game, and we just don't know. But for there to be so many bad performances from these players, like I said, Tavares, I don't know how he stayed on the pitch, and not even just the back pass, the no-look pass. I mean, you're not Messi, so let's not do no-look passes. Like, you're not that good. And he was a no-look pass. He tried to think he was cool. I mean, but the thing is, he done so much good work before that, because he wrestled the ball from Trent Alexander. You thought, oh my God, yes. And then he just done a no-look pass straight to Jota, and Jota goes in and scores. And I think after that, he kind of lost his head as well, because he was racing up the pitch trying to make amends, but then he was leaving Trent Alexander and also Salah on the right-hand side to do what they wanted. And those are two players you do not need at all. Now, it would have been better even if Arteta took off Emile Smith-Rowe and then put on Tierney,
Katie.
and had the two of them on the left hand side, just to almost at 2-0, you're thinking, okay, let's not concede anymore. You're not gonna score 2 goals at Anfield if you're 2-0 down. Let's be very honest. Arsenal are not that good. So it would have been better to take off a Smith Rowe, putting on Tierney, and just showing up, just shutting down that side of the football pitch, because Salah and Trent Alexander were absolutely running riot. There was a field day for them. The amount of space that they had was just unreal. And it's those little things like that where maybe Arteta's a little bit inexperienced. I mean, yeah, Carl Walker sitting here telling Arteta how to manage, like, just, people will say, well, you go and do it then. Well, I do on Football Manager. But it's things like that.
You've won trophies.
I fucking have. Not with Arsenal, I'll tell you that. I don't manage Arsenal Football Manager.
You're not a magician.
No, they just annoy me. But it's things like that where you can see the danger. Well, you've got to do things to combat the danger. I think 2-0 is a respectable scoreline at Anfield. But then we went gun-ho and we thought, oh yeah, let's actually try and go for this. And it's kind of like, no. Sometimes you've got to know when you're beaten and just hold down the scoreline. And unfortunately, we didn't do that. But again, when Partey goes, obviously he's going in January for a period of 6 months. It kind of made me think. Sorry, 6 weeks.
That's a hell of a tournament.
Jesus, could you imagine? He's going for 6 months.
He's playing the African Cup of Nations now, a 38-game season.
He's going for probably 4 to 6 weeks. Sorry, maybe. Do you think at the end of the season, because this is something you said, Femi, is obviously just sparked my interest. Do you think after the end of the season, let's say Arsenal don't get into Europe again this season, and I hope that doesn't happen, do you think he'd be knocking on Arteta's door and then saying, boss, this is not what I signed up for. I think I want to leave?
I could.
Or do you think the money will keep him there?
I haven't actually thought about that. That's a really good question. I don't know, because Arsenal would want to recoup a lot of the money that they spent on him, because he was like an upfront payment type player. So I think that kind of holds it back. But I could see it being a good time to part ways on both sides, maybe, because you can still get, if you can sell him, you can still get some money for him. If you leave it another year, then you start getting into that, oh, is he going to run down his contracts? Is he going to be worth anything? He probably signed a 5-year deal. He's going to be turning 30 within that 5 years. So your chances of recouping any money are kind of slim to none, to be honest. And
especially for a centre midfielder as well.
Yeah, our central midfield is just a joke. It's been like that for a few years, and we just need to find a solution for it, because if your central midfield doesn't function, that's why we just don't function as a team going forward at all, because our central midfield is so disappointing, and I'm sure Partey's still traumatized from I think it was the Villarreal game where Arteta made him play central midfield literally by himself.
Oh yeah, the 4-1.
Yeah, 4-1-4-1. Yeah, and he put Xhaka at left back. I remember that and just thinking, what the flip is going on here? And he was just getting run over. I don't know if he's actually been the same since that day, actually. And yeah, so there's and we've had a couple of those, where he's had to play in central midfield by himself, where his central midfield partner is basically playing sort of left wing back covering for Tierney. Those types of things do not help him, because when you have someone right next to him, like in the Tottenham game, there was a difference, because Xhaka was literally standing next to him, and it made a massive difference to his play. And I just wanted to say something, actually, when you talk about Tavares. I looked at a message from a rival fan that I got in a WhatsApp group during the game, and it was about the 85th minute. He's someone that doesn't watch Arsenal, so he hasn't seen Tavares. He just said, who is this Nuno Tavares? What a mess.
Yeah,
he has had some good games though, hasn't he? But
he has, but when rival fans, when other fans don't watch your team And this is, that's why it's quite funny that when you're playing a big game, you're beamed around the world, and that's when you decide to have stinkers, basically. Yeah. So, yeah.
Who I'd like to see in our midfield. Don't know if you two think it's feasible. Calvin Phillips. I had to look his name up. They keep on calling Kev Phillips, like the Sunderland striker. He's only 25, but my God, what a player!
That would
He could
be.
fix some problems, couldn't he?
Yeah,
I think there'll be a lot of people after him.
I think he's destined for a Man United.
Yeah, Liverpool and Man United, definitely one of those. It'd be nice to get him, but he's an England international and he's a starter as well. Now he's one of the first names on the team sheet. So you're not getting him for less than 60 million. No, he's not coming for anywhere for less than 60 million, maybe even more. So I think it'd be good to get him, but I just can't see it at the moment. I think Arsenal need to be more of an attractive outfit. And if Arsenal don't get European football, and I don't mean that stupid, even Intertoto League. I mean, we've got to be another. We've got to be in the UEFA Cup proper or the Champions League. Now, getting into the Champions League is literally maybe 3 teams fighting over one spot, because the first 3 spots are definitely taken. They're done already, and I think it's one from maybe us. Man United, us Man United, that lot up the road, and West Ham. We're all going to be fighting for that one spot. So it's going to be very, very tough to get into the Champions League this season. Then, even so, you're looking at, if we don't win the because isn't it whoever wins the Carabao Cup that they go into the Conference League,
the playoff for the Conference League.
Yeah, so we don't want to be in the Conference League. We either want to be in the UEFA Cup proper, the Champions League, or not at all.
That'd be 17 games to get to the final.
We don't have. I don't think we have the players for that, to be honest.
But if you look at the league table, after the 12 games, at the start we had of the season, we're only 5 points behind Liverpool and 6 behind City. That's not too bad, is it?
But what you got to look at is this. This is literally, I would say, one of our best chances to get back in the Champions League. I know Arsenal fans might not want to hear that because it doesn't fit the, it's a new team, we're starting again agenda. But think about this: Man United are at their lowest ebb they've ever been in for a while, anyway. So you got that. You've got all the other teams around us are playing in Europe. We're not playing in Europe. You've got that. You've got Tottenham with Conte just settling in. They're going to be better next season, whether we like it or not. You've got that. Newcastle, if they manage to stay up, will be better next season. So this is literally, it's like when Leicester won the league. This is a perfect storm for us to jump and sneak into that top 4. I think after this season, I think it will get even tougher to get into the top 4.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, Femi. I mean, we're a team that's playing 1 game a week, literally. We should take so much advantage of that. And you'd think that Arteta, having more time on the training ground with these players, would work on much more stuff. I mean, there's no feeling to say that he's not, because he probably is. I'm sure on Monday he brought them in and said, look, that was obviously not good enough. I don't know whether he makes them watch the games and say, let's see where we went wrong, and then go on the training pitch and work on things. I mean, obviously he's working towards, beating Newcastle. But I just think that, like you said, this is a great opportunity for us, 1 game a week, to beat the teams. You're looking at all the other teams who will pick up injuries, who will be fatigued. I mean, our fight is not the Chelsea's, Man United, sorry, the Chelsea's, Man City's, or Liverpool's. That's not our fight this season. We're playing them, but it's not. We're not in. We're in a different league, and I think it's shown from the 3 games that we played against those teams, and they've all beaten us convincingly. So they're not us. It's the next couple of games where we've got Man United coming up, we've got Everton coming up. Those are the teams in and around. Also West Ham, I believe we got as well. So those are the games who, that really matter, that we have to take points from our rivals, because the other 3, they're clear. So we don't really we're not really in a battle with those. I just think it's.
But then, how do you feel about just giving up 6 games to them? We can't just lie down and be
it under
tickled.
most of Wenger's reign. The second half of Wenger's reign, it was a given.
But then at home, to be fair to Wenger, at home we did have a decent record against everyone basically. So even the big teams, even if we weren't, losing, we still managed to draw, at least get some goals against them. I mean, we can't just go a whole season just losing, just giving up 6 games, 0 goals, and whatever goal difference that we're racking up against these 3 teams.
Minus 11-0 we've lost.
Yeah,
in those 3
and we
games
still got to play them again, which
Ah!
I'm worried about, because I get it. You can take 0 points and just write off however many points you're playing against them. But if then you're basically leaving yourself no margin for error in any of the games that you're mentioning. So your Man United games.
We've been to Leicester and beat them, which we never would have before. We've beaten Watford, which is another bogey team. We've beaten Villa, another bogey team. So if you'd have looked over this point of the season after 12 games, which would be a maximum of 36 points, and gone, well, how many points do you reckon we'd have had looking at that league table of our fixtures? And asked you how many points would you have been happy with? Would either you be happy with 20 points out of 36 at this point of the season, knowing that all the other teams are all, there's no one undefeated? We're ahead of Spurs, ahead of Man United, ahead of Leicester mid-table, Villa are near the relegation zone, Leeds, they're near the relegation zone. I think if you take the entire thing into I don't know what the word is, consideration.
I totally it's 20 point, it's all good. But my thing is, and my biggest concern is, the lack of goals is gonna come back to haunt you at some point.
It doesn't show any signs of getting better.
Yeah, if you're living on the edge, basically, if you're playing Norwich and you're winning 1-0, they could do something, launch one ball in the last minute, you could have drawn that. Burnley away, that penalty that they gave and then got overturned, that could have been 1-1. You've got even the Watford at home, where they hardly created anything. You had a last minute Ramsdale running out like a madman, and Josh King hitting it into the side netting. So you're kind of living on the edge when you're playing this type of football, where it could those wins that we're getting, it could easily just be loads of draws or defeats.
Look at the goal difference, Karl. We've got -4,
-1.
Spurs -6, Man United -1. Even Bernd, we've got the same goal difference as Burnley, who are in 18th with -6.
Scoring goals is really bad, at the moment, and it's only going to get worse kind of when Aubameyang goes, because again we lose him for I think he'll be back after 4 weeks. I don't think Gabon are going to go very deep into the African Cup of Nations, but when Aubameyang goes, you're looking at playing maybe Lacazette up front, who can only last 60 minutes. Then you're looking at maybe bringing Eddie on. Would you give Martinelli a run up front, because he hasn't so far? So you're looking at, and he's not going to give Balogun a chance, because Balogun's nowhere near the first team at the moment. So you are relying on a striker who can only play 60 minutes, and then bringing on maybe Eddie. That's if everyone's fit, and that's not saying that there's with no injuries. So our goal scoring is, is going to be worrying for that period of time, and there's nothing in sight. Like, what do we do? Like, scoring goals is obviously an issue, and it's been an issue for a little bit of time now. I mean, Danny, would you cut your losses with Aubameyang if you got an offer of 10 million or maybe 5 million, because it's his last year? So next year will be his last year, won't it, into his contract extension? Am I correct?
Yeah, he's only got one more season, but this usually we won't leave your questions to the end of the show and go, we've talked about that. So quite organised, Karl. The topic we're talking about now brings in 2 questions. One, open season at Neil Lark says we should drop Alba and give Balogun a 10-game stretch. Discuss. And Billy King at Billy King 92 says, also, do you believe that Balogun or Nketiah will be first choice players at Arsenal? So that brings in what we're talking about at the moment. I don't think you could drop Alba and give him a 10-game Balogun a 10-game run. maybe give Martinelli a run. But you were saying, Karl, who will play when Alba's gone away to the AFCON? But it's obviously going to be Lacazette is going to play there, and then Martinelli is going to be the one that is going to get more game time. And you just thought games coming up to the AFCON, you were going to give Martinelli more games, more minutes, get him ready to start playing more games if he's going to need him, especially with the League Cups coming through. Because we're definitely going to beat Sunderland, and then we're into the semi-final of 2 games. You can't just then go to Martinelli. Oh, by the way, you've been getting a minute here, 2 minutes there. That game you didn't play, and the same with Pepe. Oh, now you're going to come in and start because they're going to be cold. But would I sell Aubameyang? No. Because we need him. Because as much as we're struggling this season, you take out Aubameyang's goals, we'd have lost to Palace. West Brom might not have lost 6-0, whatever it was. He is our top goal scorer. And
see now, what I was doing while you were doing that was looking at our teams for the last few games and the bench mainly. When you're saying things like, okay, Balogun, Nketiah, etc., we're not even talking about the ones that don't get on the pitch like Martinelli and Pepe. I'm looking at the bench, and then you see the bench, and this is the majority of the games. You'll see 1-2 fullbacks, usually Tierney, Cedric, or left back and a right back. You'll see Holding, you'll see El Neni, you'll see Maitland-Niles. It's just too many. And then you won't see another striker basically because you got your 2 strikers on the pitch. So there's too many defensive options on the bench, or is that
no
me?
one's making
There's just
impact.
too. Yeah, you can have an Nketiah on the bench. There's nothing stopping you at all. Even if he's not here next season, you're paying him right now. So and he can maybe make an impact at there's no wow factor on the bench for us. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work basically. You can throw Martinelli on, which he hardly ever does. Pepe comes on, he looks kind of disinterested at the moment. And you've just got those 2 options mainly. You can't just say, okay, let's stick them in for a 5-game run and bring them from nowhere, from the cold. They haven't played any football apart from Balogun playing under 23 football and scoring every week. Nketiah literally has played 1 game for the whole season, and that was the last League Cup game. And he scored. What did he score? 1 or 2? I don't even know what he scored. He scored a goal, didn't he? Yeah, the one where he almost missed. Yeah.
There's nobody on the bench. If the opposition see them warming up, the opposition's going to go, "Oh shit, we're knackered. They got them coming on." No, we've got no one.
Yeah.
We've got El Neni coming on. It's not going to scare anyone.
But surely Arteta has to look at that and see, because let's say that Aubameyang gets injured in the first 15 minutes, he has to come off, and he pushes Lacazette up front and then brings on Odegaard. Lacazette is not going to last the whole game. It's inevitable. He's not going to last the whole game. We know this. So what's his options? Then Martinelli. Like, surely, we're playing Newcastle the next game. Surely you'd look at that and think, Newcastle haven't won a game the whole season. The only team in the whole of the English Football League not to win a game in the season, in the season so far. Surely you think, okay, Aubameyang, do you know what I'm going to do? I need to see my team from when you go. So let me test it out. And then if we need Aubameyang, then I'll bring you on. But there's no better team to try out a new team against than Newcastle. No other team. But I think we both know, so all 3 of us know, that he's going to start almost an identical team that played against Liverpool, apart from maybe Tavares and Lokonga might not play, and he may bring in Odegaard. But barring that, it's going to be the same team. Now, surely you're looking at this team and thinking, right, I know that I'm not going to have Aubameyang, I'm not going to have Pepe, I'm not going to have Partey. So I need to see how my team is without these players. But I don't know. Striking options are at a minimum, and we just don't score enough goals. It shows in our goal difference. But we've got, like you said, Nketiah, who's about to leave at the end of the season. You've got Lacazette, who's possibly leaving at the end of the season. I heard there's talk today about him maybe signing a new contract. I don't know if it was just paper talk. I'm not too sure. But, so we are going to have to bring in
El Neni,
2 strikers. Yeah, but just the strikers incident at the moment. Like, you're looking at bringing in 2 strikers definitely this season, for the end of the season, how do you just bring in 20, 25 goals just like that? It's going to take time, and we don't have. I feel like our midfield is so bad that even just creating goals, we just don't have it in us. And I hope we try to bring in an established striker. So if we stick with this Project Youth, which we're looking at, we're going to do, bringing in strikers who may make it, who may not make it. You're living on the edge there. You kind of want ready-made goal scorers. I mean, I know there's talk of Calvert-Lewin coming in. There's a possibility of him maybe, and the guy from Fiorentina as well. There's talk about him coming in, and Isak as well. Sorry, but
the Swedish kid at
Real
Sociedad.
But are these players going to want to come to Arsenal? This is not the Arsenal of old, unfortunately, where quote unquote, our knock is different. Shout out to Don Raul, but this is not Arsenal. If you go to another team and say, okay, we want to buy this player, or you go to the agent and then they say, okay, what are you going to offer us? Okay, we can offer you money. Okay, where's my European football? Yeah, we don't have that. Okay, who are you else going to bring in? Not too sure. But you can play with this player and that player. Like, it's not attractive enough. So I think the striker situation. I mean, you can happily say that Arteta's kind of sorted the defense out. That's kind of sorted, and it should be that defense for a few years to come. That's sorted, and then you got to look at now. The next problem is the striker situation. So Arteta now has to sort out that situation in the new year. Do you always feel like there's always something that the manager needs to do, Femi? There's always something that there's always a problem that he needs to solve. There's always that firefighting.
Yeah, it's been like that since he joined, isn't there? It's like, okay, he hasn't touched the attack though, has he? Since he's been there, it's basically all players he's inherited, basically.
Apart from giving a bumming a contract, I don't know if that counts.
Yeah, apart from that, he hasn't really touched the attack. So I think that must be the next focus of the management team. And like you said, it's like I thought we would get to a point where we could add. We need to. Well, let me rephrase that. We need to get to the point where we only need to add maybe 2 players a season rather than mass wholesale changes. We're basically going to have to change our whole forward line next summer. So we're going to have to sign another 4 to 5 players the way things are looking, because you're going to have Lacazette leaving, Eddie leaving. I'm sure Pepe at this rate should be leaving. I'm betting he's probably going to go out on loan with an option to buy somewhere. So that's already 3 players that you're going to be down, and you're going to need to replace those 3 players. So it's another big overhaul in the attacking area next season. But my biggest thing is chance creation. Getting the ball to the attackers is a problem. I read somewhere that we're 19th for big chance creation in the whole league. That's not on, to be honest with you. So you can have Aubameyang, like I said, running around like a headless chicken, but he never gets the ball in the places that we know he's deadly, which is in and around the box. He doesn't touch the ball there. To be fair, I think he had 23 touches the other day or something like that. He doesn't, even in smaller games, he just doesn't get the ball where he needs to get it. We just don't put pressure on teams enough in terms of pushing the ball through, creating chances, constantly pressuring teams like Liverpool did to us. We don't play that type of way. So for me, it's like, okay, one attacker, a Calvert-Lewin, Isaac, will they really make a difference unless you sort out the way you move the ball around? I'm not so sure about that, to be honest.
Yeah, I have to agree. But the problem is, Danny, what do you prioritize? Would you prioritize the striker situation, which we're going to need to, or the midfield? Do you sacrifice one? Because we can't bring in 2 strikers and then look to bring in an abundance of midfielders. So do you say, okay, we're bringing 1 marquee striker and then we have to promote Balogun? No if, buts, or maybes. And then maybe look at another midfielder to play either alongside or with Partey/Xhaka.
Who bought Partey? Was it Arteta or was it Emery?
Arteta.
Arteta bought Partey.
Right, so Arteta, if I was Big Stan, apart from signing all of his money over to some fat bloke in Manchester, the second thing I would do is go, look, we've given you we've given you 45 million for Partey, given you 35 million for Ødegaard. That's 80 million pounds for two central midfielders, give or take the odd position, bit back a bit, forward a bit, left a bit. That's the gist of it. When he was buying those two, neither of those were bought to be on the substitutes bench, were they? They were copper-bottomed, as Quinton Wilson would say, first-team regulars. You don't spend that much money on someone unless you're not going to play them. And so Stan or whoever's in charge, Josh, would have to say to them, right, there's your two in the central midfield. They're the two that you want. We've backed you with a new right back, left back, and a new centre back, and a new goalkeeper. You've got your two central ones. Now, the big question is whether the owners are going to back him and say, right, you've shown what you can do with the defence. That's worked magnificently. You've not really done it with central midfield too. Can we justify giving you another 150 million to either partly get rid of Aubameyang and Lacazette and Eddie and Pepe, fund having to lose money on those, or give you money to buy new strikers? Because I doubt very much there's any more contract cancelling coming on after we've seen what's happened with the Bundesliga bastards, hashtag that never caught on, sadly, with RIP. But I think you can see that Arteta has a plan. You can see that if you give him his own players, it's going to work. At the moment, it's 50-50. Defence has worked, central midfield hasn't. I think maybe they could gamble and say, right, we'll get rid of Lacazette, or Lacazette's going to leave. We'll try and get rid of Aubameyang, and you can have two more players to play up front, and that's it. Then you've got your best 11, and you've got a load of young players coming through for the rest of it, for the subs bench, plus you've got a few stragglers that nobody really wants, but they can still come in and play League Cup games. He's made a huge mistake on Mari, where that's ended up costing us 7.5 million twice. Part of it was a loan, and then I think every 10 games he plays, it's another 1.5 million or some figure like that, which is crazy. So he's going to cost us 15 million quid for a player that looks like he can't even make the bench. It looks like Chambers is ahead of him.
Yeah, he doesn't even make the bench, yeah.
And he's not injured, and he's not playing for the under-23s. He's doing nothing, which is... Plus Suarez, that's another player. Cost us 5 million to have him on loan, didn't use him much, and then got him on a free transfer after, on half-decent wages. Yeah, for 4 years. Absolutely crazy. So
free, but
hopefully the owners will gamble and say, have some more money for a striker or two.
But then, Danny, you're sorry, Karl. You're basing that on the fact that Arteta he'll be there, because as we've seen this season, you literally, Dean Smith loses 5 games in a row. I would never thought Villa would sack him.
That's crazy.
He loses 5 games in a row. He's gone. Solskjaer was second last season. Once you start losing, there's no more Solskjaer to take the pressure. If you go on any sort of bad run again, the pressure's going to be on. The media's going to be on him. The fans are going to be on him. You that's saying he can survive to fix the attack, basically.
But do you think maybe the reason Villa did it is because they had Steven Gerrard waiting, and the reason Man United did it is because they want Zizou. They want Zizou, and it's debatable whether he's going to come or not. But I think the Ollie one has just been 2 or 3 seasons, 2 whole seasons and 2 half seasons of a lot of disasters. But the only reason Dean Smith went is because someone thinks that Gerrard. It's not Houllier. That Gerrard is going to be some kind of decent manager, and I reckon he's going to be another Lampard. And so they've got rid of a manager who was building stuff and done stuff for Villa. And then even crazier, he goes to Norwich. I mean, that's just like jumping out of the frying pan into the pot noodle tin. It's crazy.
Well, then it shows you how quick that everything changes. So, it's all good saying, next year he can build the attack. If he goes on any sort of 3-4 game losing streak, the pressure would be on Arteta.
The pressure already, though, and there was nothing done. The end of last season and the beginning of this.
Was backed then, I think, more now. I think, do you know when you see other teams pulling the pulling the trigger, it does make you think, okay, now if other teams are doing it, other teams are going to get better. Because they are, let's face it, as much as I hate to say it, Spurs are going to get better under Conte. Whoever Manchester United get, whether it's Pochettino, whether it's Ten Hag, I don't think Zidane is going to come to them. So it's going to be either Pochettino or Ten Hag, isn't it? Or they're talking about is it Valverde from is it, that's not how he pronounce his name?
Valverde. Yeah,
is it Valverde?
The old Barca manager.
Yeah, I mean, surely Ronaldo is going to have an input. So if Ronaldo goes to the Glazers and say, do you know what? I worked really well under Zidane. I won a Champions League under Zidane. I think you should get him. I'm sure they're trying to pull hell or high water to get him. But if not, the senior players at Manchester United will have an input. But whoever they go is going to be better than Ole, 100%. So
it's not hard, is it? I just said, before anybody jumps at me in the comments, I said the form we had at the end of last season, I meant the end of last year, Christmas. And it was only that Chelsea win that saved him, wasn't it? Was it Chelsea we beat in the league after doing absolutely nothing for months?
I mean, like Femi said, he said exactly the same point that I was going to say. There's no guarantee that he is going to be there at the end of the season. So to back him. And do you know what I mean? There could be a run somewhere in the league where we just don't win games. I mean, I'm going through the fixtures now, the rest of the fixtures, just thinking, is there any hard, quote unquote, hard runs? I mean, we've got Newcastle next at home, and let's be honest, if we lose to Newcastle, a team that hasn't won a game at the end all season, then I wouldn't say smash because
they're rubbish.
Yeah, but it's a new manager bounce, isn't it? Eddie Howe on the bench after his COVID. If he's going to be there, I can't even remember if he's allowed. And then you got Manchester United away. Well, by then they probably will have a new manager.
No, they'll still have Carrick. Carrick will be there.
If Carrick's still in charge, then I would say we kind of may have a chance.
Well, the first thing he did was bring in Van der Beek and Sancho, didn't he?
Sancho.
Yeah.
And they got a result yesterday, which just goes to show he just went all out attack. You know what I mean? You got these players and you're not playing them, and you think to yourself, that just shows what Ole, did he have an agenda against these players? Like, it does make you think why certain managers don't like certain players. It's just very weird. Like, surely if you buy a player like Sancho, who arguably was the best player in Bundesliga last season, maybe minus Lewandowski, he comes to Manchester United and he can't get a game at Man United. It can't be the player. It has to be the manager. Has some sort of agenda against him. But anyway, back to Arsenal. So we've got Man United away, then we've got Everton away, and then we've got Southampton at home. Everton away is always going to be a tricky game, even with their bad form. You know, going to
we can win all four of those.
We could beat any team, Danny, but there's no guarantee that we will. And then we've got West Ham at home. Who, you know, they're a top four rival.
What's the date for that West Ham game?
It's a Wednesday. So we've got December.
Good, they won't have Jesse Lingard yet. He'll go there in January because he's not playing for United much. That's when they'll be even more dangerous than they already are.
Yeah, and so you're looking at these teams and you're thinking, you look at these games, you're thinking we could beat all of those, like genuinely. But then the run comes in January where we got Man City at home, where we won't have Partey, and we won't have.
Don't! You're ruining Christmas, Karl. Stop it.
And then we got Tottenham away as well. In that much, so we got back to back. We got Man City at home and Tottenham away, back to back league games. And in there, there's an FA Cup game as well. And if we make it past Sunderland, there's a semi-final of the League Cup. So it's
that'll be the time.
I really want to. Yeah, if you're going to do that, then that's the time. But even so, and let's say you get rid of Arteta, who's there to bring in? Everyone will start screaming managerial names, but most managers who come into a football club want money. Like I dread to think of how much money Tottenham offered to Conte for him to come, because if he rejected them in the summer,
20 million a year.
I have no idea. That's more
Do a
than what
20
we read
million a
about
year,
Man United.
20 million for the 18-month contract. I'll have a look. You keep on talking.
But you think to yourself, Femi, no manager's going to come in without assurances that they're going to be back to the next transfer window wherever they come in. How deep are the Kroenke's pockets to say, okay, do you know what? We are going to back you, and we're going to give you 150 million to bring the team up to Scotland. I mean, this team probably needs upwards of 300 million spent on it. No, they're not going to spend that, but managers want assurances that they can get money.
Yeah. Well, look at this. Today, the Kroenkes were forced to pay $790 million to the
That's my
city
inheritance.
to the city of St. Louis for moving the Rams.
Well,
I
that
think
escalated
they've had
quickly
to.
because I was
They've had to
watching
make
an
a
NFL
settlement.
thing only a couple of weeks ago. They said it could be $1 billion.
Yeah, so they
Is it all
settled on
paid up and
7.
finished now?
Well, I'm sure they'll do a little payment plan. Buy now, pay later.
790 million.
Yeah, they've got to fork
card.
out. They've got to fork out the 790 million, considering that the stadium costs about $2 billion to build as well.
Arteta's getting fuck all for Christmas. No more players for you, my boy. He's going to get a lump of coal and a tangerine.
You can kind of see what they tried to do this summer, which is kind of invest heavily in terms of, if we invest young heavy, then probably the plan is, if you can keep those players for a good 4 or 5 years, then all you have to do is pretty much add sprinkles around them once you fix the attack. So you like I said, you kind of need to go hard again on the attack next summer, and then after that, then you can be in a decent position to know where you are as a club. So let's see if the Kroenkes, Josh did his little rounds again last week, saying the same things that he always says, the good things, which are, we want to compete with the best, we want to win the Champions League, all of that stuff. Let's see if they're going to continue to realize. But I hope, there's something in me that hopes Arteta does it. But I was always, I'm always like, oh yeah, I'm 50-50, I'll never go too hard on him, but I will not, if there's something to criticize, I'm not going to not criticize it as well. But my thing is, I'm just not enjoying the lack of goals, the lack of chance creation. That worries me, especially when you talk about those types of runs of games that you have. We've got to pick up goals. We have to pick up goals, and that could be his undoing as a manager. But it's been a funny season, hasn't it, in terms of up and downs. We hadn't lost for 10 games, but we didn't really look secure in those 10 games, a lot of those as well. So we'll see.
I guess a sign of a good team is when you can still win by playing badly. But Arsenal have been doing that for a long time. So, we've had to get used to that. But I don't want this Liverpool game to be like a catalyst to attack Arteta. We was never going to win this game. Let's be very honest. And I was optimistic that we would maybe draw this game. And I was hoping that we would, but obviously that wasn't to be the way. But we've kind of got to ignore that game, sweep it under the carpet. That game's done. It's moved. We've finished. We move on, and we need to basically, move on to beating Newcastle. Now, Danny, I just want to touch on Newcastle quickly before we do listeners' questions. Like we said, Newcastle haven't won a game. They're the only team in the whole of the English league not to win a game. Surely that run continues when they come down to the Emirates, or will Dubravka turn into Oliver Kahn?
Well, I think we will smash them. They'll be away, and they've got a new manager who might or might not be there due to COVID. You might have to be doing it via Zoom call, via the pitch. You've got a couple of ball boys running around with an iPad. No, not an iPad, with a Google device. Anything for iPad. Running around with an Alexa device. Oh, for fuck's sake, I'm getting even worse with this. Some kind of screen where he can see his players. Like in did you ever watch the like the IT Crowd, but the American version, where they had the app? what was it called?
Oh, no, you're talking about Pied Piper.
Yeah, that's it, the Pied Piper one. If you know, you know. Then they had one of the Silicon Valley. You had one of the people who couldn't make it. So you had a little robot on wheels with a big stick with a big screen on it. You can imagine one of those running all the way around the outside of the pitch with his face on it, shouting and screaming. And Arteta will go, I'll have some of that as well. All the players have to carry around devices so they can talk to Arteta. Aren't we allowed to have ear bits so they can communicate with the players? That'd be sneaky, wouldn't it? God, imagine the earache you'd get off of Arteta. Anyway, not worried at all, Karl. I went completely off track there, much like one of those robots. I'm not worried. I'm 4 or 5-0 because they are pony.
Femi, do you think we've got it in us to score, even against Newcastle, to score 4 or 5 goals?
No, I think I just don't. I don't. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see us just go out and just even a 5-3. I don't even just something just to get the blood flowing. Just to just enjoy. I like winning, but I would winning in style. But I can see like a cheeky little 2-0, 3-1 type victory because they've got a new manager and they seem to want to go full out all attack, judging by their game against Brentford. I want to say Brentford last week.
Yeah.
They want to go full gung ho attacking football, and their defense just cannot handle that type of football. Their defense already couldn't handle just defensive football that Steve Bruce was playing. They were still creaking, but if they want to go gung ho, they're going to leave lots of space for us. And I really wonder, actually, at some point, we're going to have to start talking about Saka and his numbers. We won't do that today, but I'll let you guys do that on another pod. His numbers are just he has to put in numbers, especially if he's a starter. Goals and assists have to improve from Bukayo Saka. I love him. He carried us for majority of the time, but the numbers have to improve.
I said this a while ago, and I was told that he was only 19 and leave him alone. So I was like, okay, but
if he's a starter, you have to judge him as a starter.
I agree with you. He has to start improving his numbers 100%. I think.
Didn't Arteta say that about Smith Rowe last season? He said, if you're playing number 10 for Arsenal, you have to be aiming for 10 goals and something assists.
And then he puts him in the wing. But yeah. But yeah, no, I again, yeah, we'll let other people discuss that. But I think Saka definitely his numbers, but Odegaard as well. I mean, I know he hasn't played a few games, but Odegaard needs to start putting in numbers as well. His assists and his goals need to improve as well. God knows what we do with Pepe. Again, I see like sneaky little stories in papers and on Twitter about accepting £25 million for him, and who knows what that happens. But just quickly, both of you, before we do listeners' questions, your score predictions for Newcastle. So Danny, you're going for what? 4-0, 5-0?
5-0. Yes, I'm nothing if not delusional.
Definitely.
I'm going 2-1.
Although I do love Femi's 5-3.
I would love that so much. What wasn't their game? We beat them. Was it 7-7?
7-2.
2, yeah.
I'm sure it was 7-2, something like that. I can remember
it was around the Christmas period as well.
Yeah, I remember a goal from Walker where he got fouled, got up, carried on running, and then scored. Yeah, I do remember that game. That was
I'd love something like that.
What are you going for?
I think I'm going to go for 3-0. I would love to see a different team. I'd love to see, like I said, not start this game. I think this is a game where if you need a confidence booster.
The last time we did that, Brentford beat us 2-0.
Yeah, but we had our two main strikers out, didn't we? So,
and Mari and Holding in defence.
Our £50 million defender not playing. But I would love to see Odegaard come in. I think that Tierney needs to come in for Lacazette. Sorry. Tierney needs to come in for Tavares. Definitely. I think that probably Ainsley Maitland-Niles needs to come in for Lokonga.
Conservative.
Indeed. And then the rest of the team kind of picks itself. Would you maybe even drop Saka and or Ainsley, Emile Smith-Rowe for maybe Pepe, and you tell Pepe, you know what, Pepe, this is your chance. Newcastle can't defend, just run at them. But what you need to do is just absolutely run at them, run them absolutely ragged. You know, there's a lot of things that Arteta's got a week to think about, and hopefully we will beat Newcastle because, you know, Geordies, who likes them. Anyway, Daniel, do you have some listeners' questions for us?
Certainly do. I'm just busy. I've changed the name of the podcast. It was going to be called Mugged by the Scousers. I'll now change it to a tangerine and a lump of coal and a tangerine. If not, just
you are on my bum, Danny.
And just for a couple of bits of clip art. Are you all right to stay with us, Femi?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Lovely. Right, I shall alternate the questions between the pair of you, starting with you, Karl. He said Matt then, not Matt. Matt L. Roberts at Matt LR28. Does Arteta have an actual playing style with this team? The only way I can describe it is bland, he says.
I don't know what our playing style is. Like, sometimes we'll string 3 or 4 passes together, and then people got the cheek to call it Arteta ball, which I don't get what that is. Arteta needs a settled team, but the problem is every time we think we've got a settled team, we get an injury or he decides to change it randomly. With 1 game a week, obviously you're trying to keep people happy by playing them as much as you possibly can. We don't have the added European football fixtures, or he has to worry about, you know, player fatigue, because technically he shouldn't, apart from Lacazette, who just cannot last more than 60 minutes, which is very, very weird for a professional athlete. But, you know, no, there is no style, there is no rhyme or reason, because we're not are we a highly oppressing team? Are we an attacking team? Do we sit back and beat teams in the counter attack? No one knows what we do, especially for people that watch, you know, our team week in, week out. Couldn't tell you. So once Arteta does decide his playing style, and maybe whatever style he wants to do, he doesn't got the players to do it, which is obviously I can see, you know, that's not being a thing, but hopefully in time he will find his own style.
Jolly good. I agree with all of that. Right, Femi, from CP. Actually, we only had one question from Matt, and then I said on Twitter from the podcast account, we've got 30,000 followers. If you lot don't give us some questions, I'm unfollowing everybody. Then we've got about another dozen questions. So, like moaning at you lot, I threatened to. Who did I threaten to fire today? I think it was Stokes. Yeah, so my water's repeating on me. Yeah, so that's the figure. That's how you do it in life. You threaten people with violence. So there you go. From CPH Gunner, and that is also his at or her at or their at. Who knows? Who should we bring in as a new striker in the summer?
I think we kind of touched on some of this. We had Isaac, I think, from Sweden, who plays for Sociedad. The Fiorentina guy, I mean, I had already heard that he said he was not interested, because he's basically got a pick of teams that he can go to at the moment. He's that popular, and he's already said he's not interested in Arsenal. So that's a no-go. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I just can't see Everton selling to us. They probably see us as a very direct rival, and to prize him away, you're looking over 70 probably million. I don't know. We're gonna have to get creative, to be honest with you. Because, I mean, look at Liverpool. I mean, I'm not saying we can compare ourselves, but that's where we want to aim to get to. They were playing Jota up front the other day. Man City play Foden sometimes, and Chelsea haven't even had Lukaku on this good run. I don't know if he played yesterday, but they haven't had Lukaku on this good run that they've been on.
Still not injured.
Yeah, so I mean, there's different ways to play, but if you're talking about, we have to find a different way of playing, a different striker, because we got a pure number, a pure number 9, a pure box finisher, and we got a hybrid. I don't even know what he is at the moment, number 8, or I don't know, deep lying forward. I don't know what position Lacazette plays, but you've got those pure strikers, and it's not really worked. It's not improved our style of play. So I'd love to find someone who can alter our style of play. If we're saying we don't know how we play, but there must be a blueprint that Arteta wants to work to. There must be, maybe the Villa game or the first half of the Tottenham game. There must be something that he thinks, okay, there's a striker out there that can. I mean, strikers are funny though, aren't they? Just rounding off on my point, because look at Sebastian Haller. He was
Yeah.
dog
Oh, the one
rubbish
who's
at
gone to
West Ham.
Ajax.
He's at Ajax. He's
yeah.
not only scoring goals. I mean, if it was the Dutch league, we would say, "Oh, you remember players like Kesman, etc., etc." But this guy he's top scorer in the Champions League, for God's sake.
Yeah,
He's
he's doing it. He's doing it.
yeah. So strikers are funny. If we went out next summer and we bought Sebastian Haller, imagine the uproar from the Arsenal fans. So it's you just have to pick who fits your system, basically.
But Tadic did the same thing. Left Southampton as a midfielder, went there and he was scoring 20 goals a season. I think the Dutch league is quite easy.
But
Still
if they're
good.
doing it in the Champions League, though, which Tadic did in that season that they got to the semi-final, you can see, you can kind of it. Yeah, exactly.
Right, two-parter here from Kieran at Kieran Gunner 93. Whoever thought fizzy water would repeat on you? Good God. First part I'll answer. Where are the A-lister podcasters? Andrew, who are you? And Raj, face with tears of joy. Sorry. I think there might have been an emoji there as I cut and pasted it. We're all in a group with Fifey. What's the update on Fifey? Karl, is there any chance we'll ever get him on again?
I'm working on it. Let's just say that. Every so often I message him and ask him to jump on. Sometimes I don't get a reply, sometimes I do. But I promise that one day he's going to get to work on time. So obviously, when the dear listeners are listening to this, you're probably going to be thinking, yeah, whatever, Karl, because your company is now on strike. Because if you don't know, London Underground has a strike on Friday and Saturday. Not me. I am going into. Yep, Friday and Saturday.
They have the Arsenal game.
I am going into work, but it's not on the. No, it's on the Piccadilly line. I do like it's on the Central, Jubilee, Piccadilly, and Northern line. So people, if you are listening to this and you're going to the Arsenal game, please plan your route alternatively, because it's not going to be fun getting to the game. I am so sorry about that. Again, not me, because I'm going into work. But if I get Fife into work one day on time, promises. A promise is a comfort to a fool. Also, remember that. He will come on.
And the other part, Raj was meant to come on a few weeks ago, but the Bootleg Beatles, which he runs and owns it, they're back on tour, and he's busy doing that now. So Raj is on a sabbatical from ABW, and will hopefully be back soon as well. But the main question, he says, it's kind of same what he asked Femi, or someone the last question did. Do you think we will buy a striker in January? Not necessarily who, though.
No, we won't buy a striker in January. I just don't. I mean, unless you can, we've got two young strikers that don't even get on the bench. I mean, what's the point of buying another striker? I don't understand
that. Back in January.
That better not happen, by the way. I don't. That rumors just came out of no. I swear someone is just trying to troll us, to be honest with you, because that rumor just came out of nowhere a while ago, and then this week I've seen it about 3 times, and I'm like, nah, someone's just pulling our leg, really, aren't they?
Do you think, Karl, yes or no? I don't think so.
I think if we get anybody, it'll be on loan. But at the same time, are you going to buy a striker on loan where he's going to be, maybe third choice? Are you going to freeze Lacazette out? This person, after Aubameyang comes back, they're not going to be a starter unless you're looking to freeze both of them out. So I don't think we'll buy a striker in January, no.
Next question for you, Femi, from friend of the show, Jimmy R, who is at DCU_Guna. How do you protect young stars like Nuno Tavares and Sambi Lokonga from tanking their confidence while also doing what is best for the team in the short term? Good question, Jimmy.
That is a really good question. I mean, it's quite a tough one, isn't it? Because sometimes people say, "Oh, well, just play them through the rough patch and they'll get through it," type thing. And then sometimes we've seen it. I mean, we're Arsenal are just a perfect club for this example because we saw it on the Arsene Wenger when we did the old school Project Youth, which was a weird Project Youth, but we saw players just sink or swim. Basically, it was a sink or swim world. It's literally, you've got Denilson, for example. Let's look at Denilson. Comes into the team, we think, oh, this guy's promising. He looks good, has a few good games, and then just a few bad games, and his whole Arsenal career just absolutely just tanks. That's it. He just was never the same again, and his whole career was never the same. Let's be honest. So it's kind of like you got to find balance because someone like Lokonga, for example, I was watching. I don't know if you guys saw it, the video of Company and how highly he rates Lokonga. He thinks that he's got potential to be one of the best midfielders of this generation, and you've got to have patience with a player like that because if he's got that level of talent coming into the league, Arteta's got to protect him as well a little bit in terms of knowing when to bring players out of the team, which he doesn't seem to do at the moment. Even someone like a Smith Rowe, for example, or a Saka, do they need to play every single game? You've got to trust your squad a little bit. Dave went away played for England 90 minutes. Sometimes you think, do they need to play this game? Just give them a rest or something like that. But it's a balance in that spot. It's mentality as well. These young players have to have a strong mentality. You're gonna have bad games. You're gonna have days like Saturday as long as you play. So are you strong enough to handle it? Some of our older young players, they weren't strong enough to handle it. So let's hope we've got a better group of mentally strong players.
I mean, but you're looking at Arteta's man management, and you can't say he's been brilliant. You look at the Guendouzi situation. I personally, and people can talk about how much of a prick Guendouzi is. Arteta did not handle that situation well at all, not in the slightest. We could sit here all night and talk about the William Saliba situation. Do we think Arteta handled that situation well when this guy, who his mother passed away, needed a shoulder to cry on? What did Arteta do? Leave him at the team and then just send him off to France? Like, Arteta, I personally don't think is a good man manager. And people could be screaming at listening to this and thinking, of course he is. But as a manager, you need to put your arm around players sometimes. You need to, like you said, sometimes know what. I mean, you look at just one thing that kind of springs to mind is, do you remember when we played Tottenham at home and Aubameyang was late? And for that game, he didn't start Aubameyang. Okay, it sent a message, but you put him on the bench. So for me, either take him out of the team or play him. Put him on the bench, doesn't do anything, because if we needed him, you would have brought him on the football pitch. There's no doubt about it. If Lacazette would have got injured, you would have definitely brought him on the football pitch. So in some sense, you can say he's laying down the law, but I feel like he doesn't have that, that shoulder to cry on. Like, if you was a football player and you had a real problem, would you want to go to your manager because that's the person you should go to? But just some of the situations that Arteta's handled, I don't see him being a good man manager. I don't know if anyone feels any differently.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I look at the Balogun situation, for example. We fought tooth and nail to keep this kid. Tooth and nail. I remember all last season, everyone was like, "Oh, why is he not playing?" Yeah. He came on in a few Europa, scored first touch, this and that. And we just said, "Oh, he's gone." We were resigned to him leaving. He signs a new contract. And literally,
I said, he goes, "Ha ha! Fuck you.
Like literally, I mean, fair enough, he's not playing for us, but why didn't you send him on loan? What is the actual point of him playing under 23 football for a whole season?
Top of the league, though. It's a
Well,
trophy.
yeah, he's playing really well, but I mean, he's just
He's good for that
wasting.
league. He's too
He's
good
just
for that
yeah.
league.
I mean, look at you have to have a pathway for something like that. Look at Tammy Abraham, for example. He played a season for Chelsea. They got 40 million for him because he had gone on loan to Bristol Rovers. He had gone on loan to Villa, you know, and you have to plan out the look at Eddie Nketiah, for example. He's just doing nothing.
He's lost.
He's
They're
just
both of them. It looks like it's going to end up with Balogun ending the same as Eddie, a shitty loan to someone that wasn't planned out, and looks like he's lost in the wilderness.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, that's how you make money. Even if you tricked him into signing a contract, you let him send him on loan, play him until he leaves. You know, that's what we want to do with young players. You know, so it's a balancing act. But like you said earlier, that he always seems to have something to do. Always, there's never like just calmness. Just just calmness off the pitch.
Right. Next question. Who had that one? Who had the last question? I can't remember.
Femi did.
I did.
Right. This is from Tone at Tone74662527. No need for that, Tone. What can we ask that hasn't been asked before? I don't know if that's a question. It's got a question mark. Is the lack of creativity in the midfield to blame for the lack of goals, or is it the strikers, or is it the seemingly rigid tactics of the manager? Hashtag Arteta out. That's maybe a very sad tone. Karl?
A little from column A, a little from column B, and also a little from column C.
You love that answer.
It's a mixture of all the above. A striker can only score if he's given the ball. The striker runs around like a headless chicken, so doesn't not always in the box to score the goals. Arteta's tactics are not good enough for the players on the football pitch, because you have to work with what you've got. So the players on the football pitch are not good enough. So to mess around with the tactics so that they can create chances so they can give to the striker. So it is a mixture of all of what Tone said. Sadly, there needs to be an improvement in every department, in the striker situation, in the creating chances, and maybe the managerial situation as well, where I'm not Arteta out, not at the moment at least anyway. I'll be honest with you. I think, like I said, I think at the start of the season, you don't give someone 150 million to spend in the summer and then sack them 5 games later. It's just not something you do. You got to give someone the chance to prove themselves. And the first 3 games when we was all screaming that he's not good enough, do I think Arteta is a long-term plan for Arsenal? No, I don't think he's going to be good enough. And I do think by the end of the season, you may well see him go. But again, if he guides us into the top 4, he's staying, isn't he? He's definitely staying. So, time will tell. But yeah, there is a mixture of all 3.
Good. Next question from Ricky, which is RICCIAFC, and that's also their @. Realistically, how much do you think, for you, Femi, realistically, how much do you think we will look to spend in the transfer window? What would you consider suitable given our current position? And he adds with, do you think Arteta has what it takes to take us to the next level, competing with the top 4 and contending in the Champions League? That's a half-hour podcast on its own, Femi. You get on with it and I'll have a little sleep.
First question, I don't think we'll spend money in January window. I think at most we'll do a loan of a central midfielder. The Renato Sanchez rumours are still going, aren't they? So that could be. I mean, I think whatever we do, we'll get a player on loan. I wonder if our rumours will come back at some point. He's playing quite well. The
pirate will insist on coming on. You can't even say that word about him popping up behind one of us. Someone just check behind the curtains.
Well, that's even
he's
if he
having
plays games, because these games are always cancelled, isn't it? Because the games keep getting abandoned. So,
yeah, he's having a decent season actually. I've been keeping an eye on that.
In the Prison Riot League.
Yeah, so I think central midfield. That's why the Ceballos rumors just make me laugh, to be honest with you. But I could see a loan there. I don't see us buying another striker. I mean, we got strikers that don't even come on the pitch. So what's going to buy another striker in January until we know what we're doing there? I don't see the point in that. Then is Arteta question. do you know what? There was a game where I was like, you know what? I thought, you know what? Yeah, I think Arteta can get us to a level, and then someone else is going to have to take us to the next level. I just think that's the way it's going to work. I think he could work at another club, but there's just something not. I don't know. There's just something that this. Like I said, I want it to work, but there's just something. Maybe it's that rigid football that someone else asked in the question that I just want excitement. I just want to see goals and chances being created, and yeah, I don't know. It's just, who knows? I don't know. I don't think he will be the one to take us to the next level. Let's put it like that. I think he can take us to a level, but to the next level. Look at the managers in the league. That's all I'm gonna say. We've got 3 or 4 of the best managers in the league, in the world, in this league. Yeah. We've got a Klopp, a Pep, a Conte, a who else? I don't know. Klopp, Conte, Pep.
Chelsea manager.
yeah, Tuchel. You're competing with, and these guys, whether we like it or not, we can see in their style of play. Let's take someone like Tuchel, for example. He has totally changed Chelsea, and that's just because he's just a damn good manager.
With the same players as well.
So that's the difference that these big. So that's what you're paying for when you're paying for these coaches. Let's be honest. It's the same as players. If you pay for budget players, you're Burnley. If you pay for top players, you're Man City. That's just the way it goes.
Karl, from David Dixon at Danger Dave Dixon. So don't fuck this up, because Danger Dave will come and get you. He says, what are Mikel's weaknesses and what could he do to improve them? Good luck.
That's a very hard question. I can only go by what I think. Definitely his man management style, both on and off the pitch. I think when players are off the pitch, like you said, when there's no crowds in the football arenas and we could hear pick up every single thing on the mic, you can hear him coaching players with an inch of their lives. Stand here, stand there, go here, like shouting, Oba, Laka, literally telling players where to stand, within millimeters on the pitch. So I think he's got to, on the pitch, he's got to trust players more. He has to, because he can't keep just, coaching players. I guess you've got to get players to just play football. And sometimes I think players are scared to make a mistake, and because that's all he does. He just screams at players, and he can't do that. And maybe off the pitch, he needs to be a little bit better at man management, because, like I said, I know Guendouzi was a prick. You can just see it, but it seems to be that's the way. Just get rid of the players. Just get rid of them. Instead of, we don't know what happened behind closed doors. We don't know if him and Guendouzi sat down together and said, look, blah 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 blah. Did he blast him in front of the dressing room? We don't know. So I would say his man management style is definitely things that he needs to change, both on and off the pitch.
Good answer. Right, 3 more questions to go. One from Sam, is a friend of mine from Twitter. I think he's in New York. Happy Halloween. Thanksgiving or Halloween, a late Halloween and an early Thanksgiving. So Sam is at Sam67306018. He's actually a good follow. I mean, if I follow him, and I don't follow many, He's a nice bloke. Where do you see the Arsenal finishing this season, Femi, and then Karl?
In our predictions that we did at the beginning of the season, I had us finishing 6th. And I don't see any reason to change that. So I'm still saying 6th.
I think between 4th and 7th. Somewhere between there.
I'm saying 4th because I don't care.
Wow.
I'll break all the rules. Right, Karl. Question from Arsenal Adria, which is Arsenal_ADRIA. Do you think Aubameyang is the right type of person to be our captain? Do we need a quote, cool, quote, no, start quote, cool, end quote? I'm trying to think of a new way to do that because they normally go quote and then you should have the start quote and the end quote. So, yeah, I've still not worked that out. Captain, or should we have a proper one like, I don't know, Lacazette?
What is a proper captain? I mean, do you want an old school captain like Tony Adams, a John Terry, a Steven Gerrard? Like, those sort of players don't exist anymore. Those sort of captains, they just don't, you know what I mean? You don't see them anymore. Do I think Aubameyang is a good captain?
Well, he didn't come out for interviews, did he, when we lose?
No. So, I would say no. I would say if I was an Arsenal player and Aubameyang was my captain, you looked at captain to lead. He's got to be in front of the camera. Whether he's a show off. Aubameyang is a show off. That's what he does. He's a showboater, but you can tell when times get tough, he hides. Because I remember times when we were losing games, and you're seeing like Emile Rowe come out for interviews, and you're seeing, the young players come out for interviews, which shouldn't be. He should be in front of the camera no matter what. If you used to look at the Arsenal team right now, apart from Tierney, who would you want to be the captain? I mean, long term, because Lacazette is going in the summer. Would you want Partey to be a captain? I don't think I've ever heard Partey
who would probably be captain. We know.
It should be Xhaka. No, it should be Xhaka.
Yeah, we know.
But we've seen Granit Xhaka take the armband. He's just not officially. I don't think after what happened, you can't officially give him the armband. So I don't know. But when Aubameyang does leave, who takes it? Is it going to be Kieran Tierney? Because I can't see anyone else taking the armband. Would you even give it to Ramsdale?
You might take it, not give it.
The way Ramsdale screams at players, and he's a voice, and that's what you need. You need a voice. So I wouldn't be surprised if you saw Aaron Ramsdale be our captain within the next 2 seasons.
I hated Czech as captain, man.
I forgot who he
hated
was
that so much.
He wasn't really a shouter, was he?
No, he wasn't.
That
but
season,
it was experience, wasn't it? It was experience.
He had his helmet on, so he couldn't hear anyone.
Oh, behave yourself, Daniel.
He just had LBC playing it on in a pair of headphones inside it, listening to Nick Abbott.
It was because of his experience, but I wouldn't be surprised. In fact, I'm saying it now. Within the next 2 years, Aaron Ramsdale will be our captain. Mark my words. You've heard it here first on ABW.
That would be a disaster.
Clip of the week.
You think so?
Clip of the week.
Yes.
Clip of the week.
I'm surprised. Why do you think
what team? Okay, Tottenham have their captain as
look how well that's done them. I like the idea of Ramsdale.
I just can't think of many teams that the club captain is a goalkeeper.
Seaman was for a bit.
But is it more now just a... Does the captain mean what it... Yeah, does it mean more now? I mean, does it work the same now as it did back in the day? I don't think it is.
But I don't know. I'd love my captain to be someone who's out on the pitch, who can, put pressure on referees like Roy Keane used to do and protect his players. If you're a goalkeeper, you're just too detached from the game to get involved in stuff like that.
Well, then
for me, it'd be Tierney, team, but no one can understand him.
Yeah, I just.
Take away
Granit Xhaka. Ben White, would you put him, the man who literally come out and said, "I don't watch Wolves games. I only play the game and that's it"? Would you?
I'm telling
Nah,
you,
sorry, that's not
I
my
think he
captain.
was joking there. I think he was doing pure joke. I think he was having everyone on. He just said it with a straight face, but I think he was just joking.
Well, he's a good-looking chap with all the tats, so that's going to get us some extra viewers if he is coming on after we've won. But yeah, it's got to be Kieran Tierney and then maybe Ramsdale occasionally. But Ramsdale will just annoy people. But Femi's got a point. You can't direct play from the middle of the goal, can you? You can't, as a goalkeeper, run up and argue with the referee and then he gives a quick free kick and you're by the halfway line. Not going to work. So, but there again, we've heard him shout. You don't have to be anywhere near the ref for Ramsdale to hear you. He can perfectly be understood, even if you're at the opposition goalie. Right, next question. Final question for you, Fem, from UHAMMAD Adam at MOEHA Moadam. Who can Arsenal genuinely get if they deem the Arteta project a failure? Kind of touched on this earlier in the show, but no one put any names down. So, Fem, then Karl, because I don't know.
Straight away, I'm going to Ajax and I'm slapping down some whatever they want for their manager. I'm so impressed by Ajax, the way they play. I'm watching them, and I keep saying, not just in the league, in the Champions League, and this is the second time they're doing this in the Champions League. They navigated their group with ease. He's got young players that he's building. He's got random senior players, like you said, Tadic, Haller. Like, he just makes it work. And the style of play, I just love the way they play. You know, so fearless. But if it was me, there's not many, like I said, there's not many big managers out on the scene right now that are not snapped up. So yeah, for me, that's the one. That's the one.
The only problem I can see with that is that De Boer was magnificent at Ajax, did the similar stuff, went to Southampton, lasted Palace, lasted 3 minutes, fired, went to Atalanta, went to Atlanta in MLS, was absolutely atrocious, refused to play the South American style football that they play there because they have all the South American players, or they did a few years ago. And then you had the other one who did wonders at Ajax and then went to Dortmund, was an absolute failure. That is a very easy league to make yourself look good, as we've seen by quite a few people.
But then the difference is he's doing it in the Champions League.
That's the that.
Yeah, that's the only difference. Like, I always look at the mark of a team. That run they had to the semi-finals in the Champions League was just ridiculous, to be honest with you. They should have got to the final, if we're really being honest.
That last
that was him. Yeah, they should have beaten Tottenham. They had Tottenham beaten dead to rights in that game.
More of it coming,
and then this season, this is now them back in the Champions League, and they've just won. They've won their group with ease. So let's see how far they go. But for me, I've seen a nice style of play. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, that would be my choice still.
Well, they lost Van der Beek to United. They lost one to Barcelona and one to Juventus, didn't they?
Yeah,
their
exactly.
Best players.
Exactly. Well, so they spent another year rebuilding, and
plus they play great football and score loads of goals, and that makes Femi happy. Cue Femi smiling.
Yeah.
Karl, don't say Sam Allardyce or I'll cut you off.
No, because depending where we are when Arteta goes, we might need Pulis, just no, but I was going to say
Ten Hag as well. Karl, don't fucking ruin it.
Why would we not want Pulis? Do you remember when people were calling up for Pulis a little while ago to fix our defence?
No, never.
Yes, people were calling up for Pulis. What the actual hell? But I was going to say Ten Hag as well. Because we have to be realistic on who's going to come to Arsenal. We really do have to be realistic. Thinking of all the question about, are we going to, let's say Zidane doesn't go to, if Poch goes to Man United, then Zidane's going to PSG. Let's be honest, that's what's going to happen. I can hear Chris in my...
His wife has got a big say. She doesn't want to go to Manchester.
But should happily go, I'm sure he should happily go back to Paris. But, So... He must have that job. Like if Poch does go to Manchester United, like he's definitely got that job. But I can hear probably Chris Carpenter saying, "Yeah, you don't know nothing about French football." Yeah, you fucking right, Chris. And no one wants to either. But yeah,
You won't be listening. You're lucky.
True, but yeah, who else who is around that Arsenal could attract? Because we're not the Arsenal of old where we could get any team. We're not. That's not us anymore, unfortunately. So,
Graham Potter.
Josh says no, he's not ready.
He's not ready.
Yeah, I think that's what he says.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know, but Ten Hag would be the person that I would go for as well, to be honest.
Well, there you go. That is all the questions. I don't have an answer like I ever do. I just stick with Arteta. And I think that is all of our questions. Thank you very much to everybody who sent us in a question. Luckily, I don't have to unfollow 30,000 people because that would have taken a while, but I'm determined. Karl, back to you.
Oh, it was just like an ITV studios, like back to you in the studio.
Trying to sound professional.
Yeah, you are. Do we have any gentlemen's nod shout outs?
Yes.
Look at you being all prepared. Like you. All right, go on, Daniel. You go first then. Who's your gentleman's nod / shout out to?
It's going to go to a certain gentleman called Giuseppe. If you know, you know. Lucky man.
Ooh.
Lucky man.
So
Too much oil, love. Too much oil. You gone fucked it up. I'd have been happy if any one of them would have won it. But I'm not saying what program I'm talking about because there's some people that haven't seen it. So on the that was Big Brother in Switzerland. I'm talking about. Karl, save me.
I don't have any idea what we're talking about, Danny. So
Femi
while
does.
I quickly run through my phone, Femi, who's your shout out to?
I don't have one, to be honest. I'm not prepared at all.
Bloody hell!
This is
How about all the
bad
people
business.
that are going to have to walk to work on Friday, Karl? Do you owe them an apology? Each and every
Do
one
I
of
owe
them.
them an apology? No, because it's not me. It is the train operators that are doing it. I fortunately only semi-manage them. I don't. That's not my problem. But again, people, if you are traveling Friday or Saturday, please plan your journey. If you're going to any football games, please plan your journey properly, because you will arrive at your local tube station and you will probably find that you will have no service at all, or the service will be very, very limited. So everyone that's leaving Arsenal and you're looking to go to Arsenal or Highbury, Islington or Finsbury Park, you may want to take a bus or walk to King's Cross where you got more services. My shout out is going to go to Andrew Fife. If you're listening, make sure you come on the podcast next time. It's also going to Jeff Arsenal because he's going to sort me out some more tickets soon for Arsenal. Also going to John because I like annoying John in our groups. He says logical things, and sometimes I just like to drop a little bit of just a little bit of not logical stuff in it, and it kind of gets John going. But majority of the time, he does talk sense. Me and John
You're too busy picking on Chris to annoy
I was
anyone
about to
else.
say the John and Chris conversations.
You love to multitask, Karl.
Yes, Chris does come up with some weird and wonderful things in our WhatsApp group.
You can say bullshit. People know what you mean.
It'd be funny if we win on Saturday. We actually do really trounce Newcastle. If we pipe up them, what is the game? Is it an early game? It is, isn't it? It's like a
12:30.
Yeah.
Fucking, I'll be watching that in bed.
I was gonna say you can be awake, Danny, for that.
Hopefully. And I'm up at 9 tomorrow morning. If anybody is in Milton Keynes at IKEA tomorrow, you want to come and see me, don't.
I thought you're doing a greeting. So yeah, bring your old Arsenal programs, and Danny will sign it for you.
Each and every one of them with my frozen sausage fingers. Good God, it's going to be so cold. Do you like the little announcements at the bottom of the screen, Karl?
This is a London Underground announcement. Yes, please plan your journeys ahead because unless the strike gets called off at the 11th hour, which is not looking good at the moment, it's going to be a very long journey into work. So again, on Saturday. Please, people, plan your journeys. Right, that's enough of that. Femi, thank you for coming on today, even though you're working extremely hard.
Thank you, guys.
Danny, I'm not thanking you because you have to be here. This is your baby. This is your podcast, so you've got no choice but to be here.
Thank you to everybody who couldn't be fucking bothered to reply, whether they could make it or not. Pirate. Oh, no, he wasn't allowed, was he? That's the first time he's not turned up because he wasn't allowed to be. Yeah, have some of that. Leave that on. That'll sort us out. Karl,
Yeah,
yes.
Hashtag Carpenter out. Farmers League. With him. Bastards. If they stop fighting each other, they might actually finish a game.
Yes, so thank you to you for hosting, Karl, and for you, Femi, for turning up. It's been an absolute joy. I think that's it, Karl. With the next show should be next Wednesday, I think.
Yes, after our resounding 7-0 win over Newcastle. And on that note, thank you everyone for listening, and we will see you next time. And always remember, hashtag fuck Ellis.